I was about to say, you're kicked
Yeah,
out.
go again. Try again next time.
Mhm.
It would work.
Okay, we're live.
It automatically goes to the side.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. May please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Consent agenda, the recommended action is approve the items below, which are included in the consent agenda. 6A, meeting minutes. 7A, teaching staff medical leave of absence. 7C, winter coaches. 8A, budget calendar approval. 8B, athletic merger, and 8D, special education. May I have a motion to accept these items?
Yes.
Thank you, Dan.
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Thank you, Liam. Any discussion? If not, please vote.
I'm just waiting for John.
We
So
didn't forget a phrase this time.
it's 5 yes.
Okay. Motion passes 5 yes, 0 no. Safety plan hearing. This is the emergency response plan hearing. Roger, you're up. Are you?
Okay, so
this is our
our annual safety plan hearing. And I'm just going to provide you with a quick overview of our safety plans without getting into great detail. The safety plans are revised every year. And part of the requirement of every time we revise the plan is to have a hearing. And that means that we post the plan well in advance of tonight. And that allows any interested citizens to read the plan and then raise any questions at this time. So this is a little bit different than most years because so much of what we're doing is virtual, but I do believe people have access to this. Is that right, Karen?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is just provide you with a very brief overview of the plans, and then we'll move on with any comments according to the agenda. Do you have the agenda handy? So I'm sorry, I do have it here. So I'll provide you with the overview, and any guests are welcome to make comments. Any Board of Education members are welcome to make comments. And then we adjourn this hearing and move on to the regular meeting. Any questions about that? Okay, so there are 3 plans. There's a district plan, and then there are 2 school plans, one for the elementary school and one for the middle and high school. These are developed annually and revised annually. What I'm going to do is just to provide you with sort of a very brief idea of the changes. So it's impossible for me to go into great depth in our plans, but anybody who's been following for the last 10 years or so is pretty familiar with our plans. Our plans are an attempt to respond to all matters of safety involving schools and children. Typically, most people think of this safety plan as a way to respond to intruders in the building. And of course it is. However, it's more than that. It's an attempt to cover multiple areas of risk. And so that we're constantly discussing all these different elements of safety and then putting them in our plans. So our plans are much more comprehensive than a response to an intruder, but certainly the intruder piece is always of great concern. So I'll start out with the district plan. The district plan provides an overview of what we do. It's very broad. It does not provide the details of where kids go or what teachers are supposed to do or what students are supposed to do. It does not provide the phone messages for the key personnel. What it does, however, is provides a broad overview of how our safety plans are intended to work, how we respond, and some of the key players involved. And so the district plan is revised every year. This is what's been posted. This is actually what this hearing is about. Okay. I am going to talk, though, about the elementary and the middle high school plans. So in terms of what's changed in the district plan, very little. Now, in the school plans, we have added pieces of pandemic safety, because that's obvious. That's actually an important component. And of course, we're living it right now. The district plan doesn't get into that kind of detail, so you won't see that there. The changes to the district plan are really limited to staff changes. So key staff members are listed with their phone numbers, and we update those every year. And then there is a mention of pandemics in the district plan, but in most cases, the district plan hasn't changed much. And that's actually a good thing. It means that our safety plans that we review every year with lots of people are consistent. And so that people are very familiar with our plans, both from this year, but also from previous years. So that's the district plan. In terms of the school plans, these are not public documents. And so you won't see these posted on the web, and you won't see these handed out to multiple parties. The groups that see these are first responders. So we provide these to the police, the fire, ambulance, and those and key members of those organizations are on our safety team. So they helped develop them. In terms of the updated plans, the elementary school met, their safety team met a number of times, and they did update staff changes. They updated some changes to contact information and key contact people, like the Olympic Training Center people, as well as all those phone numbers. In addition, both school plans, the middle high school and the elementary school plan, did add in school district policies, which were not included in the past. So these are required policies. One of them is policy 8130, the school safety plans and teams, and the other one is 5420, student health services. So both of those district policies, school board policies, are now part of the safety team plans. And then in the section in the elementary school plan on threat and hazard annexes, and this is where it lists all the different threats, we've concluded a section on biological threats, and that's intended to address pandemics like the ones we're now experiencing. So though sometimes people think of the safety plan as something we just started working on in September and October and approve in November and December, in fact, the pandemic piece of that, of course, as you all know, something we've been working on a lot in great depths for a long time. So that's the elementary school plan. And then the middle and high school plan, sort of similar in terms of what their changes were. They also changed, staff changes. They included changes to our staff, plus their phone numbers and contact information. They also changed some procedures for evacuation. So what most of us think of as fire drills. The principals in particular have been very concerned with making sure that those evacuation plans are tighter and more controlled and predictable. Typically, middle and high school students have loosened up from those days of being really good little soldiers at the elementary school. Well, middle and high school principals were concerned about that. So they've really tightened that up, and they've reorganized that piece of the evacuation. And so that's changed, and that's in here. In addition, they've also included the district policies in their plan. And then they also revised the reunification practices. And if you don't know what that is, it's actually a pretty important piece. If students are asked to evacuate the building for a long period of time, they don't just go out and do a fire drill. We actually have evacuation locations, special locations for each school. So reunification is how you get students back in the hands of their families, and how to do it in an organized and orderly way, in a way which we can be confident that the kids are going where they're supposed to, and the right people are picking them up. So that reunification practice, or those practices, were included in the middle and high school plan as well. And they also included new protocols and procedures for pandemic response. Again, very much like what we're doing right now. So those are, in short, the key changes to our plans. So at this point, we have an opportunity for questions or comments from guests and board members. Karen, do you want to start and see if we have any guests out there?
We do not.
We do not. So maybe board members have questions or comments.
Do you practice the reunification plan, or is that one of those private matters that?
So it is practiced. So, you know, typically we do one rehearsal of a long-term evacuation, right? The one where we actually relocate. And then that's, I won't say every time, we do different things. So at times we do follow that up with the reunification practice. Yeah. More questions or comments? So we're pretty, you know, we're pretty pleased with how this has gone over the last few years. I think if you were to ask the members of our first responders who participate, I'm talking about from Lake Placid Police, State Police, our firefighters, our ambulance crew. Some of them have commented to me that over the years they feel like we've done a much more thorough job here. We did really tighten up the intruder response a few years ago. You might remember we studied and then adapted the ALICE protocols, and that's an acronym, and we can go into that in great detail. But basically, altering or enhancing the way we do lockdowns, and so now a lockdown isn't one thing. It's a number of possibilities, and that's big change, but a real welcome change. And I can tell you that we've had a lot of practice with that, and that's gone over very well. Any other questions or comments?
Well, this was the first, there's a letter in there from Mike Porticelli.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
This is the first year, wasn't it? First year that it's been a requirement.
Yeah, and you know, we learned that through him, and he let us know that he was now required to approve plans. We're happy to have him, by the way, and they joined. We only learned that in between meetings, so we do 2 organizing meetings every year at a minimum, and we only learned about that after the first meeting. So we were able to invite him to the second meeting. He and Darcy Lefebvre, and they were able to attend. And then Mike, in fact, came in and read through the plans after the fact, and then provided us with that letter approving the plans. So it's interesting because you get different looks. You know, different groups look at them in different ways, and he looked at his differently as well. I believe his background's from New York City, and he was involved, if I remember correctly, in some of the big events down there in the early part of the 21st century. So his experience was really valid.
Anyone else have any? Well put together.
Thanks. We have dozens of people involved in this process. I won't take personal credit for that, but on their behalf, I'll say thanks. A lot of hard work and real concern and professionalism go into these plans. So.
If not anything else, we'll move on. We'll close the hearing.
Great.
For the good of the cause. Yes, we answered that already.
Right, I'll check real quickly, but. Nope.
To reports to the board. First up is the Lake Placid Central School District Safety Team Meeting.
So I think you could combine these topics together, right? And yet there is there are some things to add, right? So what you're looking at, we have 2 documents attached to the agendas and the minutes for the 2 main district-wide safety team meetings. There are school-level safety team meetings as well. Many thanks to Karen for organizing these and for taking the minutes and to making sure that we did all these by Zoom. And thanks for making sure that all that happened, Karen. Karen, not only does she organize these meetings and provide these minutes and organize the Zoom, but she then is the one who does the submission to the State Education Department, which is another requirement. And that's not just a matter of sending in our plan. They require us to submit it in other ways. So thanks again, Karen, for all you do. What you'll see in here, by the way, is just what our agenda was and what some of the discussions were about. But maybe if I would just highlight here, we did spend a good amount of time talking about our facilities, right? So our plans don't really talk specifically about how our facilities have changed, but you all know that with the capital project, among other things, that our facility has dramatically improved the level of safety for our students and our staff. So part of that is the capital project, which put in everything from new secure entrances and safety glass to some of the electronic improvements that we've made, some of that connected with the capital project and some not. Dana Wood's been working tirelessly on making sure that all this stuff happens. I don't know how many cameras we have now, Dana, but when we started this, we had like
11 or
3
12.
bad ones.
Yes.
And now how many do we have?
I think we are over 50. I think we're at least 50 up here.
Yeah.
And then another 20 to 30 down at the elementary school.
Yeah, so it's tremendous, the amount of oversight we have. And then on top of that, you're working on
Additional cameras.
additional cameras at the fields.
Yeah, so we're putting 4 cameras at the athletic fields. It's actually we're one that has 4 different lenses to it, so we should be able to see and kind of more of a higher quality, so you can zoom in. The cameras are going to be placed by the concession stand, but they say you can zoom in and see someone walking on the far side of the track. So it has that capability. Plus, Garage is getting upgrades there, so that there's cameras, but they're very old. So getting upgrades there, adding one so we can see the back of the buses where they get plugged in the wintertime, and then the Shipman parking lots where our students park. It's getting S2 cameras as well.
And then you're also working on a new PA system.
Yes, emergency response system. They started installing it here. They were supposed to cut it over and have it go live just before Thanksgiving break, but with seems like a lot of things that are connected to projects. Yeah, the wrong server got delivered and had to wait for another server to come in, so now they won't actually cut it over and start using it until closer to winter break. The elementary school should be being changed over this month as well.
It really opens the door to lots of improved communication.
I was wondering whether the generators, whether the cameras work with the run generator power. Or any of that stuff.
You know, I honestly don't know if I know our servers have backup batteries, so they just don't go down, and that's where our cameras are connected to our servers.
Mhm.
So the servers, I think if we lose power, there is additional power that goes to our servers. But I don't think it's, hours upon hours of battery running. So we would probably eventually lose that as well.
Any questions about the safety team meetings? Well, thanks.
Thank you. Budget status report. Dana?
Well,
Would you turn the speaker?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
right, no. So you'll see that this budget performance update, budget status report is as of end of October. So we're really just a month away, a month old at this point. our next meeting will have the November one. So if you do a quick look over here, you can see that our revenue is slightly down from last year. We're sitting at 84.1%. That's compared to 86.2%. Most of our property tax money is in, over $15 million of that is in. That's reflected in our treasury report. When we get to that, see that locally, really the biggest decline is state sources, about $103,000 down from last year. And I think that's more attributed to timing than anything else. We have not necessarily held, if you look at it, we've gotten some of our normal fall aid from the states. It's lottery aid, things like that, that came in full, and that's actually, they're spread out. It's not the full amount. So really, we have not seen any true withholdings yet, other than from prior year. Last year, they held some money, about 20% of some money that we were supposed to get for last year was withheld, but technically everything for this year from the state has thus far been paid out. But it's kind of a misnomer because our first payments from the state actually is sort of like we pay ourselves, rather than them sending us state aid and then we pay them our teachers retirement system payments. It's basically we hold on to it. So they say you owe us $154,000. That's what we would give you for state aid. You keep the $154,000. You move it from your teachers retirement accounts to your state aid accounts. So when they say they paid in full, it's because these first few payments are actually a wash when it comes to paying our retirement system money. So revenue in itself is only off by about 2%. Expenditures, on the other hand, you'll see we are truly underspending thus far, and that's for a number of reasons. First and foremost is the fact that we're not able to conduct business the way we're normally able to. We didn't do all the sports trips in the fall time, even though we had sports. We haven't done field trips, which typically encompass a lot of fall time. The middle school retreats and things like that. I think of the 6th grade that always goes to Polk and McCready and requires driving and things. Those have not occurred. So our expenses are down because we're not doing what we normally do. 21% as compared to 28%. You'll see personnel services. That's where the biggest changes. It's about $1.2 million. And again, that factors into even summertime. I mean, this is all driving summertime. We didn't drive the buses as much. Our summer school wasn't as big as well, so there were savings there. I mean, so it is kind of, it just, it adds up. Which, looking at it, if we do end up getting a 20% withholding, the hope is through not spending as much, that will help offset any loss in revenue where it doesn't impact, and we got to look at additional larger cuts to mitigate that change in revenue. So, and as you can see at the very bottom, in terms of projections at this point, it's really early to make that, but that's what these forecasts do. They project based on current trends, and our total expenditures they're projecting is about $2 million difference, which is from last year. It's kind of where it was last year at the end of last year. If you remember from the audit reports, we were in the just under $18 million in terms of what our overall expenses. So really what we're doing, we are trending right now in terms of our expenses from last year, and a good portion of that, a quarter of it was, because we shut down and we didn't have, the expenses from, March on. Questions on this? Treasury report. So looking at it, as I was saying, is we've taken in about a little over $15 million in our revenue from property taxes, which is pretty good. Our tax levy was 16.7. million. So we're well over the 15 million at this point. All of that will become whole come April when whatever's left, the county will pay up. But that's kind of leads us into that insured cash sweep. We're sitting at about $19 million. 15 of that is from our property taxes. It's that second line down, total availability. 5 million of it is still from our capital projects, that $18 million ban that we got. 7 of that was paid out right away to pay off our previous ban. So we really had about $11 million sitting in our accounts. But there's about $5 million left in the capital projects revenue accounts, and then the other 14 plus is from the property taxes. So that's why that cash sweep is so large at this point. But that's typical for this time of year because of the money that we bring in through our property taxes. We're not getting the rate return that we got last year. So we're not going to see that huge $115,000 revenue line at the end of the year. But we're still, if you look at it, we've brought in just for through the end of October for that revenue was a little over $10,000 in interest through the end of October. So that will, we're still seeing some return there. But overall, you're looking at it, we're still, like month to month is, we're still doing fairly well when it comes to cash on hand and money in the bank type of deal. There's obviously a couple outstanding ones that you see when we're looking at outstanding checks, about $919,000. When I look at this, 200,000 of it is Bass Hatfield. So I'm seeing here a number of the construction projects we're still outstanding. And again, that's typically based on timing, when these checks get sent out. And if they get sent out at the end of the month, they don't have time to clear the bank and then get back to us. So a lot of this is connected to that as well. I'm looking here, and I would say almost half of it is just tied to the construction projects outstanding there. Questions on the Treasury report?
Superintendent's report.
All right. Thanks. So I do want to start with some recent news, and this is it's always makes us anxious when we talk about COVID-19. And I did want to mention tonight that we do have an additional positive case in the school district. The case involves a student at the middle and high school who tested positive, but has not attended school here since before the Thanksgiving vacation. So learned about that not too long before this meeting, and was able to have make contact with the Essex County Health Department. So typically when news comes about, we get a phone call and sometimes follow-up phone calls and emails and conversations with the health department. We're in pretty close contact with them on a regular basis. In that conversation, we talked about the timing of this particular situation. And what they were able to share with me was that it's of course unfortunate when anybody tests positive, and in this case it's a student. There were some symptoms, but the good news is that those symptoms were mild, and so the student is doing all right. And we expect, and the health department was able to share that with me, that we expect that that the student's improving. So that's all. I guess the best news you can have when you have bad news, right? That it hopefully is not as bad as it could be. That being said, the health department did emphasize with me that that when they trace these situations, they only go back a certain number of days for a time period when the person would be symptomatic. And so when they did that, they were not able to go back as far as last Tuesday when we had school. And so they were able to assure me that in this situation, this particular positive case doesn't have, implications for other students in school with any recent, with any contact. So their recommendation is that that this should not impact the operation of school going forward. So our plan is to remain open and do what we do every day, which is to remain vigilant about health and safety measures, and continue to assess the situation, and of course pay attention to our students. It's a terrible thing to hear when somebody's sick for anything. We're all particularly anxious about this disease, so I was really sorry to hear about this, but I'm very hopeful that this student will do better soon and that we can remain open as a school. So I will be getting that information out to families in a one-call email later this evening. I'm looking at Karen because she actually does the email, and so I really appreciate it when you support me on that. But I did want to mention it here, and so if any of our families are watching, they can hear it here, and then they'll get follow-up information on a one-call email later on tonight. So that's that news. I had not prepared for that piece of my superintendent's report earlier when I was preparing for this report, because that was all recent news. But in terms of other things, I'm happy to move on to other things, unless anybody has any questions. Okay, well then moving on to other things. First of all, we just came back from our Thanksgiving break, as I mentioned. And before the break, we did have our National Honor Society induction ceremony. So congratulations to our new National Honor Society members. They were inducted in a small ceremony last Friday the 20th, at the conference center. So with lots of space between people and no guests. I was not able to attend, unfortunately, and I love that ceremony. But many thanks to the students who organized and ran the event. It is run by students. They do a great job. And then to our National Honor Society advisor, John Mullane, and our guest speaker, who is our English teacher, Amy Spicer. And she did a wonderful job sharing her thoughts about the disappointment people can experience and the opportunities that can follow from that disappointment if you are open to them. And it was a very personal and touching speech. So thank you very much to everybody involved with NHS, and congratulations to our NHS members. So other things, elementary school has a book fair this year, and like a lot of things, it's virtual. So the book fair is virtual. This is the Scholastic Book Fair you're probably familiar with. Usually it's in the library, set up for a week. This year it's set up online. It's been going on since November 19th. It's going on till tomorrow. So get your orders in now. So anyone is welcome to purchase books online, and the purchases do go to support the Lake Placid Elementary School. This particular new version of the book fair is organized by our new elementary school librarian, Kat Haney. So thank you very much to Kat Haney for doing this, for continuing the annual tradition, despite the fact that we can't continue things in the normal way. Now here at the middle and high school, in addition to other changes that we've talked about, you may have noticed we've returned to our former parking patterns. Right, we've been parking, everybody been parking on the oval. We've now moved back so that staff are parking in the staff lot and students are parking in the Shipman lot. With the construction project winding down, and it is winding down, and that is good news, we're looking forward to many, many more opportunities to return to normalcy around here. So in terms of if you're preparing for Christmas, I wanted you to know that we do have class fundraisers going on. The class of 2024 is selling Christmas trees, and a 6 to 8 foot tree is $35. There's an additional fee for larger trees. Then the class of 2023 is selling Adirondack Life calendars for $15 each. And they're also selling Blue Bomber swag. So get your wristbands here. Thanks also to our class advisors. Our class advisors work with the students, usually the officers in each class, to organize these kinds of things. And it usually takes time, energy, and effort. And there's usually a lot more work than they ever thought it was going to be. And so I really appreciate the time and effort they put into this. Other things going on, we do have future planning meetings planned for later in the month of December. That's here at the middle and high school, as well as in the month of January at the elementary school. And that's our annual opportunity to take a look at what we do and look ahead to ways we can improve. In particular this year, we're calling this a post-pandemic future plan development, right? And that's because we think that this experience has opened our eyes to a lot of things, things that we do well, things that we could stand to change, and maybe some things we've learned from these past months that we can apply in some way to the future. So future planning is coming up. Other things, so this period between Thanksgiving and Christmas is 3 weeks and 2 days long. And so that's 17 school days, and we've just finished 2. And as I mentioned earlier, tomorrow will be number 3. And we will go on from there. And so that's sort of how we've been looking at the year. The winter break, of course, is scheduled to start after school on the 22nd, and that goes to January 2nd. So we're looking ahead at a long break in school, the traditional Christmas winter holiday break. And in that respect, we're also looking ahead at our last Board of Education meeting for the year 2020. I don't know how you feel when the year 2020 is mentioned, but I know I get this little uncomfortable feeling. So thinking about another year, 2021, I have some optimism there. And so our last board meeting is coming up in 2 weeks. If you're like me, you're looking ahead and hoping for positive changes in the upcoming year. And that is everything I have. Any questions or comments?
How do you get hold of the Christmas tree people?
So
calendar people?
it's interesting. So first of all, it's all in. You could find this information, those 2 fundraisers information you would find on the newsletter,
Okay.
most recent newsletter. If you've ever cut trees in Vermontville, this fundraiser allows you to continue to do that, but to do your purchases through the class and then still cut the tree in Vermontville. Don Ham, is that right? Yeah, Don Ham. So anyway, yeah.
You can email Brendan Bosworth to the calendar.
Is that right? Okay, yeah. Thanks. That's everything for me.
Any questions, comments? I think that was asked, but if not, we'll move on. Information for the board is the next agenda item, and there is nothing under the information for the board. I think that's a first. Linking goals with agenda items.
I was gonna say, finance with the budget report. COVID is actually, make sure we're gonna be under budget.
Putting students first with the safety plan.
Okay.
The safety plan, emergency plan.
Yep. Got those?
Somewhat beneficial. Yeah.
Any others? If you can think of any when you're falling asleep tonight or anything, get them to Karen, please. Capital project update. There are 2 attachments, the November 9th and 23rd summaries. Any other comments on the budget, on the capital project?
Auditorium is looking nice.
You go ahead and talk about the auditorium. If I do, I'll just melt.
Oh, gee.
You go ahead and talk about that.
I was in there, I mean, one, how quickly they're putting the seats in, from my perspective. They started yesterday. When I was in there this morning, they had them all in, and they were like, well, they were just putting the seats on. So yeah, it looks really sharp thus far. I mean,
Nice.
seeing the stage painted and, I mean, really, the seats, I think, are probably the last part of it. And I suspect that will be this week easily, yeah, auditorium. And you'll notice those workers around here, they're still trying to balance the heating system and get that all squared away so that it's ready to go for the winter, so they're finishing those things up. And as Roger said, it's kind of coming to an end. Buck Brothers has pulled all their stuff out. I mean, you can walk in freely on the rear main entrance, the lights in the front, so, yeah.
A little mixed emotions driving from Main Street with, it's sad to see everything gone, but it's really nice to see everything gone.
Right, yeah.
You drive right up here, there's no tractors to go around or piles of stuff to go around. It's really eye-catching. So the sign's lit, I see. It's nice.
When are we gonna get a tour of the auditorium before
Yes,
next
Yeah,
meeting?
we should do that tonight.
You can easily walk, I mean, the doors are open, absolutely.
Right after this meeting.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Joan, you want us to take you with us?
I'll FaceTime.
You're more fever space in this new.
Yes. Yes.
So there's more, the seats are a little bit bigger. You can't buy seats as small as our old ones were.
Yeah.
We might have, because we weren't really for big seats, we're looking for more leg room.
Yeah.
And so now there's more leg room. And the seats are
little
offset
wide, yeah.
so that, you're not staring at the back of somebody's head. You're in between the two heads in front of you.
Nice. Great. Change orders, there are none. Next up are the meeting minutes. Those are under consent agenda. Personnel matters. The first, the teaching medical leave is consent. The second is a CSCA appointment. The recommended action is, upon recommendation of the superintendent, approve the appointment of Amberly Rounds as a 10-month bus driver for 1-year probationary appointment beginning December 2nd, 2020 and ending December 1st, 2021. Salary will be step 1 of the CSCA schedule for the 2020-2021 school year, $17.88 per hour. Benefits will be prorated for the remainder of the 2020-21 school year. May I have a motion to accept this appointment?
Yes.
Thank you, Dan.
I can second, Rick.
Thank you, Daniel. Any discussion?
Yeah, let me mention one thing. So Amberly Rounds was able to take advantage of something that we offer here at the school district, which is the ability to train people to be paid while they're being trained to drive a bus. And she was not a licensed bus driver to begin with. She learned how to drive the bus here. She was paid for her time. She's done some other work that didn't involve a license. So she's been working for us now for 3-4 months as a part-timer, as what we tend to call a substitute, but really as a trainee. And that opportunity is open to other people too. So this is a great opportunity for people. It's a good paying job, it's flexible hours, and there are benefits. And you don't need to be a licensed driver to start, because we'll train you. And Amberly Rounds took advantage of that. She's terrific. We're happy to have her, and looking forward to seeing her drive her first run, I think tomorrow.
Great.
So just speaker on your computer. Because Joan's been speaking and she said you can't hear me.
Right, I can't because mine's down. Yeah.
So I thought, sorry.
Sorry about that, Joan.
Any further discussion? If not, if you'd please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, 5 yes, motion passes. Winter coach assignment is under consent. Additional action items, budget calendar approval is consent. Athletic merger is consent. C is emergency response plan approval. The recommended action is, upon recommendation of the superintendent, approve the attached emergency response plans for the district elementary school, and middle and high school. May I have a motion, please?
Yes.
Thank you, Liam.
I can second it. Can you hear me now?
Jones.
Joe? Okay. Any discussion? If not, if you'd please vote.
Was she nodding? Oh,
You can see her trying to speak.
5 yes.
Okay. Motion passes. Special education is consent for the good of the cause. Karen, do we have anything?
No, there's no emails.
Okay, enter the,
Questions about the next set of special ed programs?
oh, yes. Any questions regarding the December 15th packet? Thank
If
you.
you ever do, if you have it in between meetings, just let me know. And we'll make sure we get you more information anywhere from in writing or from me or from Sarah Allen, our CSE chair.
The other comment on that, if you ever notice, it happens very, very rarely, but if a name or hasn't been whitened out, if you could please let Karen know as soon as possible. So as I say, it's extremely rare, but it does happen. So. Okay, enter the adjournment part of the meeting. Next meeting is December 15th. As Roger said, this is our last meeting of 2020. Then January 5th, and then January 19th. It's our initial budget work session. So, boy,
It's too early for
it
that.
is, it's flying.
I got this, guys. I sat with those 2 trainings. I can do it.
Okay.
Hand it over to you.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's fine. I got a PDF.
Any old business? Any new business? Okay. And recommended action is to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Daniel. Second?
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. 7:22. Thank you all.
Bye, Joan.
Bye.